sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sin. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash that subscribe button, turn your notification so you are notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I'm saying a very big shout out to every one of you for the love, the support you all shower me here with. I am grateful, and you all are super sweet. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a bill they passed, which really the bill was, like they removed everything that got to do with the history, right? And during the hearing of the bill, so also a white man was asking them, why is the history, why are they trying to teach whitewashed history? That why is it that everything that got to do with black people and some natives were removed? Everything they are talking was just against the history, and he wanted to know why did they do that and all that. Then only to also find out in the other part that they also want to include 10 commandments into the history class. Instead of teaching people the real history, they want to teach them Christianity, 10 commandments. Why are you watching the history, not teaching the real history? Then you want to bring in Christianity into the same. It really does not make any sense. Let's get it.
When you look at this side-by-side comparison throughout the bill, it reads like a how-to guide in historical whitewashing. Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the writings of Frederick Douglass?
I am.
Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the writings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
Yes.
Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the history of Native Americans?
The way the bill is laid out,
that's a yes or no question.
Because we were very clear that we could not be conclusive about every single document out there that we could. I'm going to give you an answer. This isn't a trial. I'm going to give you an answer.
Okay, I'm ready for the answer.
The way it's set out is so that a teacher can go to different documents in different authors by which to teach from. It's by no means meant to be a conclusive list.
Let me just ask you one more time. Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the history of Native Americans? It's on page 3 of the side-by-side if you don't have it in front of you.
Then I believe you.
Okay. Are you aware that this new version of the bill removes mentions of Cesar Chavez?
Yes.
Are you aware that this new version of the bill removes mentions of Susan B. Anthony?
Yes, I am.
Yet the new version of the bill from the Senate, this is not the bill we all passed as a House, but the Senate's version, it still includes the writings of Alexis de Tocqueville, and he's not even an American. Could that be because he's a white man?
Not exactly.
And I say this to you as a fellow Christian. Representative Noble, I know you're a devout Christian, and so am I. This bill, to me, is not only unconstitutional, it's not only un-American, I think it is also deeply unchristian. And I say that because I believe this bill is idolatrous, I believe it is exclusionary, and I believe it is arrogant. And those three things, in my reading of the gospel, are diametrically opposed to the teachings of Jesus. You probably know Matthew 6:5, when Jesus says, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners. When you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. A religion that has to force people to put up a poster to prove its legitimacy is a dead religion. And it's not one that I want to be a part of. It's not one that I think I am a part of. You know that in Scripture it says faith without works is what? Dead. Is dead. My concern is instead of bringing a bill that will feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, we're instead mandating that people put up a poster. And we both follow a teacher, a rabbi, who said, don't let the law get in the way of loving your neighbor. Loving your neighbor is the most important law. It is the summation of all the law and all the prophets. I would submit to you that our neighbor also includes the Hindu student who sits in a classroom, the Buddhist student who sits in a classroom, and an atheist student who sits in a classroom. And my question to you is, does this bill truly love those students?
I'm going to go a different direction than I think you're trying to lead me. And that is that a very great wrong was done in our classrooms with that 1980 decision.
Every time on this committee that we try to teach students values like empathy or kindness, we're told we can't because that's the parents' role. Every time on this committee that we try to teach basic sex education to keep our kids safe, we're told that's the parents' role. But now you're putting religious commandments, literal commandments, in our classrooms, and you're saying that's the state's role. Why is that not the parents' role?
That's really an interesting rabbit trail that you've gone on with that.
Would you be comfortable with adding language to receive parental consent from all the parents of students in the classroom before putting it up?
I would not. I am, again, going to keep it clean as it came over.
So you don't want parental consent when it comes to students receiving religious commandments?
I don't believe that. I think that these are foundational to being a good citizen.
Do you believe schools are for education and not indoctrination?
Absolutely.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, why is having a rainbow in a classroom considered indoctrination and not having the 10 Commandments in a classroom?
Is that a question?
Yes.
I am not arguing another poster. I'm arguing that the 10 Commandments are represented in our earliest education system.
I just worry this is what gives us religious people a bad name. That instead of living out the way of Jesus, we're instead imposing our beliefs on other people. Instead of leading by example, we're leading by mandates. And so I'm very offended by this legislation. I know you and I have worked together, and I'm not casting aspersions on you, and I would love to work with you. But as it is currently written, I find this to be a deeply offensive bill. When you look at this side-by-side comparison throughout the bill.
As an immigrant who has lived and worked in the state of Texas, who now lives and works in the state of Washington, between the overt racism of the state of Texas and the covert racism of the state of Washington, I would choose Texas any day, because they will tell you this is who we are. You know who they are. The state of Washington tells you this is not who we are. This is what we are. But they are lying about it. The state of Washington has pro-equity, anti-racism programs. They've even taken DE&I a step further. It's now diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Yet still, these people will gaslight the living daylight out of your soul. They will sap you dry of every energy you have left. Anyway, I'm not trying to downplay on the racism of Texas. I'm just saying, as someone who's lived in both places with my skin color, I'll choose Texas any day.
Could that be because he's a white man?
Not exactly.
The fuck kind of answer was that? Shameless. They're shameless. When my mum used to talk about people who've got no shame, I always used to be like, well, shame's pointless. Who does it help? And now I'm realising, oh, this is what you meant. You just have no shame. None.
Side comparison throughout the bill, it reads like a...
So there's a quote in that video that I'm stitching, and it says, if you're old enough to experience it, you're old enough to learn about it. And I absolutely agree, and I find it insane that whenever I'm speaking to someone who does not believe that racism is still alive, I have to be like, oh, you remember 9/11? I can't remember that, but I remember being called the N-word and being told that I wasn't going to be successful and being treated differently and being told I was not going to go to college or be educated. These things are still alive, but yet you openly and willingly just choose to be ignorant and just not see what the hell is truly going on. But it does amaze me at how convoluted the system is and how well it was made and created to manipulate the minds of the uneducated. And yet it is so disgusting that we're in the age of technology where everything is accessible, that people once again cannot choose to educate themselves and actually use their critical thinking skills and to come together. It's truly disgusting.
Out there that we could. I'm going to give you an answer. You're not, this isn't a...
Bro, I am so proud of the humans we are becoming. I am so proud of it. Because look. I'm noticing a pattern. Everything bad that is happening in the world today is because of lack of power of the younger generation. Point blank. Whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Latino, Native American, we have been powerless forever. White, who gives a fuck, bro? There are people that have lived on this earth who don't have a concept of growth. They're reaching the end of their life and yet they're fucking it up for the rest of us. Keep it a bean. If you look at the lawyer or the representative asking the questions, this man is unfathomably driven to have ethics and moral surpass the system that that has been set in place.
Removes the writings of Frederick Douglass?
I am.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Like, why? How are you supposed to teach a history class without the history? Like, make it make sense. Like, they're basically gonna just talk about the Revolutionary War at this point and nothing else. What about the civil? Like, what are we doing, bruh? Like, who is on this planet? I really want to figure out. Are we living on hell?
It still includes the writings of Alexis de Tocqueville, and he's not even an American.
You don't want to ask, is it because he white? He said not exactly. We all know that motherfucker mean yes.
When you look at this side-by-side comparison throughout the bill.
But then when I ask for segregation, y'all call me racist, but this man's saying he knows that what he is asking for is removing the history. So if they don't want us to learn our history, why don't we separate, give them their own space to believe whatever they want to believe in so we can believe in what we want to believe in? But instead, y'all want to force us to live amongst whitewashing people and ignore the fact that we can't learn our history and act like we can't say nothing about it. Y'all want us to be slaves. The people who are asking for segregation, we're asking for it because you're not going to tell me I can't learn my history because you're a white person and you don't want to realize that you come from evil. Oh, asking for segregation is wrong, but him saying what he is saying is not wrong and he's able to do it freely and can't nobody say nothing, but I can't actually be separated from this evil KKK member? Okay.
Oh, it reads like a how-to guide in historical whitewashing.
Somebody asked me to talk about the changes being made to the curriculum here in Texas. And I think they wanted me to talk about the bills that are being passed, but I want to talk about the motivation. Why are these conservatives whitewashing our history? And I think what's happening is that we're seeing Christian apologetics being applied to history and imposed on the public school system. So what I mean by that is for decades, Christians tried to control what science was taught in the classroom. This goes all the way back to the Scopes trial, but even when I was in school in the 90s, the chapter on evolution was always very fraught. And I had teachers that would go on rants about, I don't believe this, but the state forces me to teach this because they didn't want to lose control of the classroom. And the reason things were so fraught was because of evangelicals' reliance on apologetics. And so apologetics is where Christians go and pick and choose different scientific facts that they believe proves the Bible is 100% accurate. Because in their minds, if they can scientifically prove that the sun stood still for a day, then when they tell you you're going to hell and they're going to heaven, you should take that as scientific fact. But they lost that battle. They don't really control what's being taught in the science classrooms anymore. And so now they're focusing on history because after apologetics, it was about historic tradition. They would say, I know that I'm right and you're wrong because I follow this historic tradition that is decades or sometimes centuries long. But when we look at it, at that history objectively, we see that a lot of these leaders in these historic traditions are not great. And so then evangelicals are left with a conundrum. Do they admit that things are not as black and white as they say they are? Or do they admit that some of their religious leaders in the past are going to hell. And they don't want to do either one of those things. So instead, they've chosen this third way, which is to rewrite history and to pick and choose what's being taught so they can control that narrative and continue to prove themselves correct, even though there's all this information that says they're wrong. So they're simply trying to control the history classroom like they spent decades trying to control the science classroom.
And I say this to you as a fellow Christian. Representative, I know you're a devout Christian.
Alright, I'm not gonna front like I know who the guy speaking is and shit, but to the lady that, like, presented the whole bill, wasn't the whole, like, uproar about displaying rainbow flags, indoctrination, and pushing something that you don't agree with on your children? That was the whole point, right? Right, cool. So then there were any sort of talk of bringing, like, Islamic foundations or any sort of religious foundations to the classroom. That's indoctrinating your children with what they don't want, right? So now the 10 Commandments, no problem, because it's in the Bible. And no, it's not how that fucking works, because again, that's indoctrination. I'm not gonna sit here on a whole bash the Jesus lovers trail, because then that'd just be stupid. But you don't see where that's hypocritical. It's only like this, it's hard, anybody super hardcore in their beliefs, but in America especially, it is the hardcore conservative Christian indoctrinated representatives, our government officials, well, citizens too, but whatever. And it's always like, no other religion can display anything they believe in anywhere, because then that's indoctrination and pushing it, or the whole thing about pride parades. They're shoving it down my throat. What the fuck is putting the 10 Commandments up and making it a state law to put the fucking 10 Commandments up, you stupid momo? Are you fucking serious? Like, I don't think they're putting 2 and 2 together here, dude. And this is one thing that, like, drives me nuts, because I grew up in a pastor's house, in a super Christian household, Pentecostal, hellfire and damnation. But, like, the thing that even stuck out to me then was, it's always like, because we're doing it in God's name, it's fine, but anybody else doing it in God's name, depending on their belief or what their core belief system is, it's only they're the problem, but we're not, right? Because we're doing it in God's love and God's light. And that's especially the guys in our, sadly, our government, not to be a fucking tinfoil hat, but come on. If this were like, yo, can we, like, have a Quran in the classroom? Oh my God, everybody would have their fucking crosses out, dude. They'd be protesting at each fucking I don't know where the place or what it's called that Muslims go to worship, so I don't say that disrespectfully. I just don't know. But you see what I'm saying? Do you understand? I'm gonna end this, but do you understand what I'm saying? In terms of hardcore Christianity and super conservative believed people, goes hand in hand, funny as it is. It's always, if we do it in God's name, it's fully acceptable, but because it's in our God's name and nobody else's God's name, it doesn't matter, because their God isn't real, because my God said so, and this is how I'm going to shove it down your throat. But if you shove it down my throat, it's bad. Not even shove it down my throat. If you just try to fucking celebrate what you believe in, you're indoctrinating my kids. You're indoctrinating my kids.
This bill, to me, is not only unconstitutional, it's...
To anyone who hasn't seen this video, I highly recommend you watch it. I have so many thoughts on this. Firstly, that is the important thing you want to teach in schools. Not nutrition, not mental health, not finances, not safe sex, but the 10 Commandments. You want to put that on a wall? All right. Well, here's the thing. There's a couple problems I have with that. As somebody who was raised atheist and chose to go to Catholic school, and now I go to church, I'm a Christian. I don't believe there's anything wrong with the 10 Commandments, but there is right and wrong where to put it and when to talk about it. Firstly, your faith is only between you and God. Secondly, what about all of the children that are in that school that are not Christian, that come from atheist families, that come from Muslim families, that come from Hindu families. All of these different religions are okay in America, but we're like limiting them and making them believe and teach them what we believe is right, which is not okay. Everybody has the right to believe in whatever they would like to believe. Now, the second thing is about what we teach at schools. That is like the smallest thing, but it can be so offensive. And like, honestly, when I think about this, I believe that this is how we create broken humans. There is so many girls out there. I live in Utah. There are so many girls out there here who are ex-Mormon and think that their self-worth is like determined by the fact that they don't have kids. Like, they're late 20s. If you don't have kids, you are worthless. No, that's not how life goes. And this is how we raise broken humans. Like, I understand that it's important to believe in God and teach good and be kind and teach your children that, but a school is not a place to do that. Not a public school anyways. Again, your relationship with God is only between you and your God. That's it. That's sad. I really hope this doesn't happen.
A devout Christian.
You know, I'm not the most smart person when it comes to politics, but isn't there something in our Constitution or Bill of Rights or whatever the fucking thing that created this country? Isn't there something in there that's about separating church and state? You know, that the church should not run the state. The church should not dictate what laws go into effect. That Christianity and religion should have nothing to do with what laws are passed, what bills are passed. So why the fuck are you going to pass a law that forces schools to teach about the Bible? Isn't that what church schools and Bible schools and Catholic schools for?
So this is all I got from those teachings, and when I saw the video, I was like, ooh, now, excuse me. Now, seriously, they really do want to watch history. And but it's not like it's new. It is not something new. It's something that you all already know that it's been there. But watching this man, I mean, watching him read all this that he is trying to change in history, and he is also trying to defend himself because he already knew that he completely messed up the whole thing. And the reality is that what exactly do they want people to learn, or what do they want kids to learn in school? I mean, when the history is already whitewashed, like, there is nothing you want them to know, there is nothing you want to teach them. You want to, like, turn it in a way that it will suit them, because that is what they are doing. This history is something that they are turning to suit them. They don't even want people to know. They don't want the kids to know how horrible the history is. That's why they keep saying that it wasn't as bad as, especially it wasn't as bad as black people make it look, because they feel like you people are the ones screaming about the history so much. You know, when I started talking about this rate, the season going on all over the world, and how black people are being treated, most especially, and I found out that black people are very, very outspoken. They speak about it anytime they get to talk about what they are experiencing. They don't wait back or sit back. They say it openly, and it's something that I love about them. But other people are very, very, very calm about what is going on in their own side. But black people are not calm. That is something that, you know, It is because that black people are not calm. That's why most times when they want to fight, they fight so hard towards black people because they know that they don't keep quiet. So now they think, the best way to silence them is to remove some certain things, that history that they hold on to. That history that we are not even proud of. Let's look for a way to make it look a bit okay, so people won't think that it was that bad. But they already know. There is nothing, you are just fighting yourself. People already know that it was that bad. Go everywhere, go to social media, go to TikTok. People are teaching history. People are getting to understand more. And then not listening to the media, because the media has been pushing wrong narratives. They have been telling us lies all this while. So what are they? They are also looking for a way to cover up all their sins. Because that's, their sins are numerous and so huge, And now, with everything going on, they're also trying to push Christianity to you. Or instead of, why do you have to talk about history? Why do you have to talk about, because they always try to gaslight black people to say it's been in the past. And you see, this is also affecting, they are also trying to erase other people, people are like the natives also. But sometimes you probably will not hear them talk, but you definitely will hear black people talking about it, right? And so now, instead of them wanting to teach the history, why do they have to? They have to now bring 10 commandments. They bring Christianity into it. The whole thing is just amazing. Why? What about inclusion? Because everybody's not Christian, right? Some are Muslim, some are atheists, some are like Hindu. Everyone is not all Christian. Does that make sense? But you can teach people's history because everyone have their own history. Why are you all scared and running away from it? This is where I am going to draw the curtain. Thank you so much for the support. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.